And, you know, we're so quick to go to the drugs in this society. I mean, you know, the teachers in our schools are pushing it, insisting that these kids get on drugs. The parents don't know what to do, so they end up getting them on drugs. So you have these 5-year-olds literally having heart attacks because they're on I'll just say medications that jack their metabolisms up dramatically and can end up causing these kinds of situations. Okay, so sorry, having a little background issue there. So anyway, I used an example of one of the kids that I treated who I did some evaluation on. I tried to understand what was going on with him, tested him physiologically, and talked to him, you know, about how he thought and so on. And it appeared to me that really there was something else going on. So I pursued that avenue and ended up finding, when I tested, I actually literally did a stool sample and tested it, and tested his stools for 3 parasites. Turned out he had 2 out of 3 of the parasites. He had 2 out of 3 of the parasites. This is a little 3-year-old kid who was crawling over furniture, could not stop. He just kept moving, kept going, constantly. I mean, I understand the diagnosis of ADHD in that situation. I can understand how somebody who is just looking at him psychologically would leap to that. And this is part of where I'm coming from with this series that I've done in Tampa Bay Wellness Magazine, as far as the series on natural treatment of psychological disorders, because there are underlying physiological issues in the majority of these situations. And in his case, he had parasites. We got rid of those parasites. I put him on an anti-parasitic treatment, got rid of the parasites. He was a new kid. His parents couldn't believe it. They were floored. Okay. And then, of course, you know, there was referrals and all that stuff that happened within their family and so on. I'll give you another example. A schizophrenic, again, somebody diagnosed with schizophrenia, right, who came to me. His family came to me trying to help him. He and his family were from an area of the world where they got exposed to a lot of industrial waste. So they had grown up with this, and he had grown up with this. When I tested his aluminum levels, you know, there's a communication issue there when you have aluminum interfering with the communication in neurological communication, the brain and so on. Aluminum is a very, very good conductor. So in his case, when I did various kinds of testing, but when I did the hair analysis on him, I found out that he had 2.5 times the maximum on a scale that would normally be measured of aluminum. So again, he had some signs and symptoms that looked like schizophrenia. He was very schizotypal, you could say, or, you know, similar to a schizophrenic in a lot of ways. But he didn't really have the paranoia with a paranoid schizophrenia. He didn't have that going on. So, you know, I kind of questioned the diagnosis to begin with, but I went into examining some of these things, and that's what I found. And so I put him on a program to start eliminating the aluminum, not just eliminating sources, but also starting to reduce the aluminum in his body by changing his mineral balance. And that's one of the things that can be done to help change the balance in an individual biochemically. So these are the kinds of things, when I'm talking about underlying causes, those are some very good examples of what I'm talking about. We really try to get to the root cause of what's going on, when conventionally people are typically being treated for their symptoms. All right, so we get into many different areas and types of treatment and this kind of thing, and different therapies. We do a lot. You know, I call the practice a path to wellness. It is a wellness practice, but really a primary care medical wellness practice, if you want to look at it that way. Or we're looking at general practice treating chronic disorders. And there are a lot of chronic disorders revolving around pain, neuromuscular issues, myofascial issues, these kinds of things that go on. And Loretta's here to help, well, to MC and to help. She's being very silent right now. She's listening, I guess. But also to help us explore the underlying causal issues that relate to massage and relate to the treatment with massage, right? Medical massage, specifically neuromuscular and deep tissue and these kinds of things.
Yes.
Right? So tell me how it works. How about that? We'll start.
Well, you know how it works.
Broad.
My hands go on a body and I rub. No, I'm kidding. It's more than that.
Right.
Well, I need you to actually help guide me on this one. Okay, so what do you want to talk about?
When you're doing, let's say when you're doing neuromuscular massage.
Okay.
What are you targeting?
I'm targeting the fascia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm targeting the superficial and the deeper muscles and the joints, tendons, and ligaments.
Mm-hmm.
All of that. I'm looking for some visual cues, but more like, I'm going to say visual because my hands are my eyes and my brain at the time. I don't think. Yeah. So I look for any little blip I feel in the tissue,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be the skin or the adipose, which is fat, breaking down those layers, layer by layer by layer, until I can find the root cause of what's going on. And it could be something just as simple as one tiny knot in your tricep that could cause a whole lot of pain in your shoulders, or just maybe in your back, because that's a trigger point. And that really will trigger another area to have pain. So I look for that. I communicate with the client. Okay, I think I found the trigger point. Is it localized pain or is it radiating pain? There is a difference. So with the neuromuscular, that targets your neurons, which is, you know, the nerves and everything like that. And I just
synapses and
synapses. Yes. And so I look for that. I look for the clues, and I find them 98% of the time, 99% of the time.
Yeah, that's very similar to the way that I treat headaches. You know, we get quite a lot of patients who have headaches, and when they show up with a headache, usually I can get rid of a headache in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, me
Sometimes
too.
10.
I find certain points on the scalp, and I feel, I think it was you that told me that if the scalp is really tight, there's something going on, or loose, but I find those spots, you know, gently having one hand just with the softest touch, and then I just massage the scalp and I just feel, and it's like, I know, it's like, okay, this is what's going on. The parietal region has to be released, or the temporal, or for those medical ones out there, you know what those are, right?
Yeah, so they're different parts of the head, the cranium.
Yes.
And we have areas of our skull that are distinct areas of our skull. They're separated. They're joined together by essentially joints, we could say, or which are
try not to get too
the
analytical
planes.
Here.
Yeah, that's true. I need to reduce that. But the plates on your head are kind of like plate tectonics in a way. But they do move, and there is pressure that can accumulate underneath. But you can have what I find when I'm treating people for headaches, and this is not just mild headaches. I can treat migraines very, very quickly. In fact, I've had historically lots of people come to me with very serious migraines and gotten rid of them very quickly. Some take a little longer, some take maybe half an hour, but it sure beats going to the ER and spending 5 hours and being pumped full of carcinogenic drugs to get rid of a migraine. When you can just experience some acupressure or acupuncture and change the flow patterns, and it's usually vascular. It usually has to do with veins and sort of stagnation or constriction of those vessels, and change the flow patterns and open up those vessels so that the blood's flowing more freely, and that can improve the experience and get rid of the headache or migraine, such that it may be. So that's how I approach it, and it's kind of similar to the way you're doing.
Yeah, because I do acupressure. I learned that basically my acupressure is the same as yours in a sense, because it's going for like the trigger points, the knots.
Yeah.
So I am doing a compression.
Yeah, and in my case, I'm looking for specific
pulses and things. Yeah.
I can feel it.
Mm-hmm,
I can feel
that's
it
what I
pulsating.
do.
Yeah, I can feel where the headache is coming from.
Me too.
Basically.
Yeah. Sometimes, like I said, like a little knot or a trigger point or just a little bit of fascial constriction in your arm or your leg can cause you to have a headache. And a lot of people don't know that. I figured this out on my own.
Oh yeah.
Just over the years, I've been a massage therapist, and they're like, "Oh my God, that made my headache go away." Like, what did you do? Or as far as allergies, I've been putting this in quotes, and you're all stopped up, and really, it's just a plug. I say that's a blockage in like your neck or your shoulder or your stomach or something that needs to release everything. And I do an awesome facial massage, and I just kind of go literally with the flow and find what's going on and drain everything.
Yeah, another term for that is stagnation.
Stagnation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and well, it's actually a diagnostic term in Chinese medicine.
Well, I see that a lot from you because you're like, move chi, something stag. And I'm like, okay, whatever that means.
Yeah. So there are a lot of those terms that I use, from the Chinese end of things. And they're describing physical conditions that are underlying the situation, whatever it may be symptomatically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You and me like feel all that with our energy or chi just because we know the body so well.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a good broadened sense after doing an initial consultation or somewhere where to look for that root cause.
I'll tell you what
is causing everything.
I sometimes feel like a ninja.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean I can walk up to you and I can press a point on your body that will make you kneel.
Well, please do not do that to me, because you might get kicked somewhere afterwards.
There you go. But what I'm saying there is that there are these pressure points throughout your body.
Oh yeah, tons of them.
Yeah, that people aren't used to having pressed or having pressure on those
points. A little bit
points.
behind the ear is a sensitive spot. It can bring a man down,
yes,
or an elephant down. But if you push just right and use just enough pressure, you can get rid of something.
That's right. And so what we're doing is we're applying pressure to these points. Basically, my technique is more to create constriction followed by building, allowing it to build until it's to a point where the intensity is potentially going to make somebody moan. And then when I feel that I'm close enough to that point, I release it to allow a surge to happen that then changes that whole thing, changes the flow pattern. And that's the kind of thing that I'm doing when I'm treating headaches. I've become, very focused on the treatment of headaches as one of the areas of specialty, because I think it's a very important one. And it's one that's not addressed much. And certainly people are used to popping pills, and a lot of those pills are doing a lot of damage. We have thousands of people.
Causing the headaches.
We have thousands of people every year dying from the use of Tylenol, Advil, all these things.
I won't give it to my kids. My husband, though, on the other hand, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
It
well,
affects your liver.
it affects your liver,
I had no
your
idea.
gastrointestinal tract.
Ah,
You can have internal bleeding. You can even lead to things like stomach cancer.
yeah, we
There's many
consulted
things like that.
with Dr. Cooperman when he came in the office on Monday just to visit, and he was telling me about the blood pressure pills. And I think you told me the same thing after I had the conversation. I was thinking about it, but he was saying with the blood pressure, it actually affects your heart. But that makes sense because our heart's a vessel, and it pumps and it pumps and it pumps. And if you lower that, you know, that's going to cause a whole lot of heart problems.
There are
And know.
there are certainly in the area of cholesterol treatment, for example. Now, here's another area talking about getting to the root cause, right?
Just eat your Cheerios.
Let's take a little break, and we'll go into cholesterol and underlying cause and that kind of thing after the break in cardiovascular and so on. So you're listening to A Path to Wellness on rhinoonair.com, WSPF digital broadcasting. How was that segue?
Good. Camera's on.
Okay. All right, then I won't.
So if I go to pick my nose, everybody will see.
Yes.
I can't believe cause, not just treating the symptoms. Really the focus of conventional medicine, treatment of symptoms to, I mean, it makes sense when you're in an acute environment, an emergency situation, to focus on the symptoms to get them asymptomatic, to bring them back, if it's truly an emergency situation. But when it comes to chronic disorders, focusing on the root cause and actually treating the cause, getting the person to recover from the cause and reversing that situation is the optimal solution, I would say. And that's why I also tend to promote integrative medicine, where we all work together. The conventional medical approach really works best at acute issues, at emergencies and acute. The natural or holistic approach, where we focus on the root cause, really works better for chronic issues. And I see this every day, and so does Loretta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I think people are often amazed at the results they're getting.
Yes.
At our
Yes.
practice, right?
Some of them notice it very quickly. Others, it takes time. I think it takes 3 weeks for the body to really adjust to changes.
A lot.
That's how I learned.
In some cases,
Yeah, and after that initial hump, it's just crazy because, you just see, I see all the patients coming in all the time. They're all sluggish, kind of do I really want to do this? And then you make them feel better. They stay on the plan, and then it's whoa. A new transformation happens. The light bulb goes off,
yes.
and boom, they're better, and they're sticking to the plan, and they're following it through, and they realize that they can get off their medications
And on
slowly.
the path to wellness.
And yes, exactly, on their path to
Exactly.
wellness because you found
Yes.
the cause.
That's it. Yeah, so we get to the root cause, we actually start getting in there and treating that situation, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And they do start to feel better because we're actually changing the situations that are causing them to be in the health condition that they are, or the lack of health that they are experiencing. So we're reversing that.
Yes.
And it is truly a transformation, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a transformative process going from a state of sick care to a state of wellness, to truly being well and having the energy and feeling and enjoying your days, enjoying your life, actually being able to do the things that you want to do without feeling like you're out of energy by the end of the day, or you have to take a nap in between, or having nausea or reflux or all these other things that may be going on, or all these other signs and symptoms. When you actually treat the root cause, they just go away naturally.
Yes.
And one of the examples we were talking about just at the break, just before the break, was cholesterol and cardio, right? You were talking about that.
Yeah, you mentioned cholesterol.
Mm-hmm. And cholesterol relates to cardio in that it's considered one of the issues to take care of in a conventional point of view. That comes from some testing that was done a long time ago relating to cholesterol that showed that if people had very, very elevated cholesterol, they tended to have more heart attacks. What's often not discussed is that the same studies showed that very, very low cholesterol also tends to increase the rate of heart attacks.
That I did not know.
So, what's the root cause there? Is it the cholesterol? You can't have both being the cause, right? High and low. What's really going on is you have a metabolic issue or endocrinology issue, hormonal issue is going on there. And with if your cholesterol is elevated, it's quite often the case that there is an underlying metabolic issue, an endocrine issue relating to the function of your metabolism. It can be very often thyroid related.
That
With
word comes up a lot.
it does.
Metabolism, thyroid.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge. We underestimate the influence of these issues on so many of the syndromes that we have in Western society. It's huge, truly huge, very underestimated. And we're starting to catch on to these things, and I'm watching all these studies, and I work on and I research these studies. And the influence of thyroid in many of these things is huge. Also, we have adrenal function and stress. You know, I was watching some comedy last night, kind of lulling myself to sleep, and there was a comment about stress, and that stress is used as an excuse. And you know, this particular individual was a little skeptical about stress being a cause of physiological issues. Well, I mean, the AMA, I don't remember what year, but they came out with a statement that 80 to 85% of all disease is caused by stress. And there are absolutely physiological reasons for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can break it right down to the hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, all the things, the effects of that, the effects on blood sugar. You can actually induce diabetes through stress because it affects blood sugar, because of the effect on cortisol levels. You can induce hormonal issues with stress. You can induce a miscarriage with stress for a pregnant woman. There's so many of these kinds of issues. And, you know, they're so underestimated in the conventional practice of medicine. Just even though the AMA came out with this statement, this general statement, it's still very much not addressed in conventional approaches.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about, okay, what's going on? Here's your prescription. 5 minutes, you're in and out.
Yeah.
Now, that's not totally the fault of the physicians involved. You know, somewhat it has to do with this kind of revolving door situation that we have. But I do think that we need to work on changing that in the United States. Around the world, this is more common that we have integrative medicine. The United States is just starting to catch on to that. And it has been evolving, it has been getting slightly more common.
I noticed a lot more younger people, like my age, a little bit younger, some a little older, going to the organic, going to the natural lifestyle because they're tired
Mm-hmm.
of living that life, or because they know and they're more open to not getting sick, so they want to live a healthy lifestyle. Like, I know a massage therapist who is purely organic as she can be, you know, and she does isotonics, things like that, you know. She doesn't have any inflammation, because like someone turned her on to one of the isotonics that you use, the Nutrimetrics, and she would always get inflammation, and she went and used one, and right away noticed a difference within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Her hands weren't swollen. She was not feeling the stress.
Right. We have a patient who came in a few years ago with rheumatoid arthritis, just diagnosed rheumatoid arthritis. She didn't want to be on methotrexate. She didn't want to be treated conventionally. So we came up with approaches that helped her reduce the inflammation in her body, helped her address acid levels in the body and these kinds of things. And she's basically experiences none of the symptoms or signs of rheumatoid arthritis years later. And she's stuck with the program for the most part. Mm-hmm. So these kinds of situations can definitely be addressed holistically and naturally. We don't have to rely on the drugs. Absolutely. Right. And the drugs, again, are treating symptoms primarily. They're not really getting to the root cause. So that's what it's all about. And back to the whole cholesterol thing, just to clarify, quite often when people are low in thyroid function, specifically low in thyroid function, they have elevated cholesterol. It's because of the metabolism, because they're not getting the antioxidants into their cells, because they're not getting the proper treatment of the energy or the proper stimulation of energy in their cells, these kinds of things, that they have the damaging effects as a result of that, that they end up with higher levels of cholesterol. So if we were to actually treat the cause by addressing thyroid dysfunction, in a lot of these cases, certainly it wouldn't be by giving them Lipitor or Zocor or Crestor or all these, statin drugs. So if we address the metabolism, the cholesterol naturally gets improved. The same with many other disorders related to that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's focusing on the underlying cause, not just the symptoms. And, we should go ahead and do our little disclaimer that we're not trying to treat, cure, or prevent disease on this show, right?
Right.
What we're trying to do is inform people, to have them understand we live in this society where we have a tremendous influence by the pharmaceutical and the food industry on our politics, on our country's laws that relate to the way medicine is done in this country, the inclusion or exclusion of certain approaches that are more natural. Whereas in countries around the world, this is very different because the politics is different. And in Germany, for example, you have the standards that are very, very good standards. They're among the top in the world in terms of what is in the food, what people are treated with, what is used to treat different disorders. The physicians in Germany use both natural, herbal medicines, things like that, homeopathics, and the drugs when more appropriate. So they have more differentiation there. Whereas in the United States, it's totally, conventional medicine is totally one direction toward pharmaceuticals. And to the extent of excluding nutritional approaches and things like this.
Right.
Now, this is gradually changing. I'm seeing the change happening. And I've been talking about this since I started this show, and I have been seeing more and more of this change happening.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Me too.
Yeah.
Over the years, I started massage therapy school in 2011, and I kind of became a little more observant, listening to clients in the clinicals, listening to other students, just watching everybody and what they ate, and kind of made me want to change my ways a bit. And then, I met you, and you enlightened me a lot more. So, yeah, I'm turned on more holistically now, than I was like way back then, you know. Although if you would have met my grandmother, and I'm going on off topic real quick, she would have loved you because she thought all medical doctors were the spawn of Satan. Those are her words, really. She did. Okay. She said because they kill people. Those were her words, not mine.
Well,
I'm just named after her.
Okay. So, there's a lot of good people practicing conventional medicine who went into conventional medicine
for the right
reasons, yeah, and continue the practice because they don't know any different,
Mm-hmm.
And they are, I think, brainwashed to believe in a lot of cases that everything else is voodoo, that everything else is hocus pocus, yeah, voodoo, all this woo-woo stuff, not real, not scientific, etc. You know how many research studies I've gone through and I use as resources to help in treatment? And, there are so many natural approaches. And by the way, folks, what the heck do you think is used as the sources of the chemicals that are derived as pharmaceuticals? And a huge portion of those
are plants.
Plants. Yeah.
Don't you wish it was that easy as hocus pocus, abracadabra, and boom? especially what you do has a combination. There has to be a relationship and a combination of doctor and patient effort.
That's right.
They have to be proactive.
Yeah, it's
You
called,
cannot do miracles.
right. It's called biopsychosocial approach. And another term for that would be psychoneuroendocrinology, which is one of my favorite areas, is the combination of all of that.
I think it's your favorite word.
Say that
It might
10 times
be.
fast.
That might be, except for supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah, there's this.
Hey.
Okay, a more musical term. Yeah, so there's, where were we going? I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
Well, talking about hocus
It's not a
pocus and how people perceive.
Well, okay, so there was this guy by the name of Stephen Barrett, MD, right, who did this study back in about 2002 is when it came out. Total hogwash as far as I'm concerned, but the guy is kind of leading an effort as a quack buster, and he thinks that everybody else is quacks. Well, frankly, I think that he's one of the quacks. But I think that these kinds of people are that really have no insight into what they're doing and how they're doing it, that there could be other approaches. These are the quacks. These are the quacks. There are a lot of quacks out there, you know.
Surprising to hear you say that word. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, this kind of stuff goes on and it's not countered very well. And then they fuel a bunch of other people into the same kind of mindset. I did a rebuttal on my blog. It's Dr. Jackson, drjackson.edublogs.com, I believe it is, or .edu or something in there. Where I took a look at his article, Barrett's work with the, I think it was the, let's see, was it? Anyway, it's a government-related organization, I think, with the National Science Foundation, this kind of thing, where he did this study. And, you know, he was equating natural medicine, any sort of alternative medicine, with voodoo, with all sorts of these, you know,
Right.
just esoteric things.
I remember I
without
read a little bit of
science.
that.
Yeah.
But what did we use thousands of years ago?
Pardon me?
What did we use thousands of years ago? Alternative means, because we didn't have.
Yeah, it's not really alternative medicine.
Right,
If you
we
really look at it, it's really the main medicine, and conventional medicine has derived its methods from the main stuff that's used all around the world. 80 to 85%. It's kind of like that stress statistic. 80 to 85% of all the medicine, the primary care medicine practiced around the world, is natural medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I don't think a lot of conventional people realize in this country. And when I say conventional people, I mean the people that are really bought into conventional medicine as being the medicine. In fact, it's not the medicine, it is the alternative medicine. The actual the medicine is 80 to 85% is natural medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of pomposity in that.
Pomposity.
Yeah, in that stance, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
that what we're doing is alternative. But the majority of that,
You're literally working up a sweat there, aren't you?
well, the majority of that stance is in the United States.
Uh-huh.
You see lesser amounts of that viewpoint in other countries around the world, certainly. You see less of it in Canada, even right next door, and certainly much less in Mexico, because natural medicine is practiced much more broadly in Mexico. You look at China, triage in hospitals, the decision is made whether to go an herbal route or a pharmaceutical route right at triage.
Oh, didn't know that.
You go to Germany, like I said, the common general practice is to use both herbal medicine and pharmaceutical in combination. That's integrated medicine. But natural medicine is huge in this world. It is the primary form of medicine practiced around the world.
See, I didn't know that until today either. You know.
But there
If
you
think
go.
about it, almost every continent, will utilize it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the viewpoint here is conventional medicine. Oh, and it's modern medicine. Why? How modern is it? Well, we're using antiquated X-ray technology that started with the Roentgen gun back in, I don't know, the 1800s.
I don't even know.
Now we have variations on that because we have digital technology. But the fact that, and yes, they are at lesser doses in a lot of cases, but in a lot of cases not. You know, you look at CT, quite often that equipment is not well calibrated, and there are dosage levels up to 26 times the amount that people are supposed to be getting of radiation when they get a CT. There's mammography, which, again, big study about a year and a half ago, February, in Canada. 25-year longitudinal study, 90,000 women throughout Canada were studied. There was no efficacy shown for mammography, none. And when compared to physical exam, zero efficacy. And in fact, it contributed to causality and overtreatment. That's the conclusion of that study. Huge study. Huge. Monumental study. Should be on every front page of every magazine in this country. Yet it is
no mammography.
being marginalized.
Right.
Why? Well, because conventional medicine is invested in X-ray equipment technology that is most likely, and the insurance industries don't want other forms because they show things that this conventional technology shows. Like, for example, in a discussion I had with a radiologist involved in thermography, this was brought up that, if conventional medicine accepts thermography, then insurance companies have to accept all of the evidence that comes with thermography of myofascial pain syndromes, which cannot be proven by X-ray technology. They can't be proven even by MRI. The way to prove that is with thermography. So there's a big motivation there not to accept thermography.
Well, insurance companies need to accept it because that would be great to have that, because there would be less illness, I think. Actually, I know there would be less illness because
well, we'd actually be treating syndromes that existed that people are talking about,
right,
but they're being poo-pooed or told they have a psychological condition instead of actually treating what's really going on. Again, treating the symptoms instead of the cause. Somebody comes all stressed out, oh, I can't deal with this pain. And they look at them, they say, there's nothing on this X-ray, there's nothing on this MRI. What are you talking about?
Here, let me give you a drug.
So how can one transform those things? How can one turn those things around?
What things? The question is, how does somebody turn around?
So you've spoken about a few different topics so far within your role. And overall. So how can one, take control?
Number one, we have to wake up. People need to be aware, and this is part of why I do this show, is to promote awareness. Okay, people aren't aware of what's being done here. It's almost a scam. If you look at it really truthfully, it's a scam, but it's a scam that the people that are involved in the scam are as unenlightened about it as the people who are the essentially the victims of the scam, right?
Would you consider that living in denial is a little bit irresponsible?
I don't know, unless you're Egyptian. Anyway, yeah.
I got it. That was funny, that.
So
because it is, and I'm so sorry to interrupt your show, but it's going back to it takes two to tango kind of mentality, and in your field, it takes it both patient and doctor needs to come to the dance floor and dance together.
It's a partnership, yes.
It is a partnership. So again, going into that whole, process, listening to you, just now, people need to become aware. It also is taking ownership of your life, become more and that's why I say living in denial. I'm one, and my husband prefers, not to, we'll take care of that later. But our health and the signs are there, and they get more and more and more, and we tend to just turn them off.
Yeah.
And that's where you come in.
Yeah, and denial of what's going on with you physically or mentally is a big problem, sure, and it allows that situation to continue. And really, in a way, when we treat only the symptoms, as is the practice typically in conventional medicine, what's happening is that we may feel better while that situation still continues, and the process of the disease continues to evolve. And yes, we're in denial that that thing is still going on, partly assisted by or enabled, we could say, by the use of the drugs. It's actually enabling the addiction, if you want to call it, to the drugs. It's actually enabling the situation where we're in denial of the true state of our health.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we mean by sick care. We're treating the symptoms, treating the signs and symptoms of an illness instead of treating the cause. And again, that's the focus of us, the practice at Apathic Wellness. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're talking about, is focusing on the cause, not just the symptoms. Now, does that mean that we don't treat the symptoms? No. We treat symptoms to allow people to feel better or experience things better while we work on the underlying root causes, right?
Right.
So, for example, if somebody's got memory issues that are really debilitating, and they have a job where people are relying on their memory, like say an RN that's dispensing drugs to their patient, right? And that RN starts making mistakes that could end up killing people. We certainly want her memory and her brain fog to be gone and to be improved anyway, before we get the results from treating the root cause. So we start off by treating the symptom, or I do, in treatment. Mm-hmm. Start off by treating the symptoms that are most important in terms of affecting their life, while I work on the underlying causes of those things that are manifesting in their symptoms. And then as that cause starts to resolve over time, there's less need for those supports for the symptoms. So I treat both. It's kind of like being a puppeteer.
And in your process of being a puppeteer, you have some really cool announcements to make of what's upcoming, correct?
Oh, regarding Apathic Wellness?
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
We've won the lottery and moving to Belize. I'm kidding.
No, don't go.
A little bit of practice down there too.
Okay, that would work.
Okay. So Loretta, do you want to talk about it?
We are now launching the massage center in St. Pete.
Yes.
As of October 1st, I guess.
Yeah, so it's the first massage center in
Pinellas County.
It is the massage center at Apathic Wellness.
Correct.
And so we're integrating into the practice a massage center, you can call it. It's the massage center at Apathic Wellness. And we're going to be focusing on doing a lot of medical massage, a lot of neuromuscular, myofascial, that sort of thing.
I usually just incorporate everything into one. It's just how I roll, because I just know that somebody's going to need a different treatment in different parts of their body. So I just kind of incorporate all the medical massage into one aspect, because deep tissue is medical massage. Neuromuscular is medical, there was a little relaxation that I started off with, so I don't want to be rigorous and hurt someone and make the problem worse.
Well, I think as I was talking about earlier, the AMA statement about 80 to 85% of disease being caused by stress,
yes,
which is where psychoneuroendocrine immunology comes in. I gotta put that word in there again, right? But the whole underlying interrelationship there, by treating the stress with relaxation massage, that is medical. You're treating the underlying cause.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a point. That's a point. That's actually what I wanted to mention when we were walking in. I had that in the back of my mind. You're right, because the relaxation massage does help ease your stress. It does help you ease your tension. If you don't want that rigorous massage that's aggressive and straight on to the point, just go with the relaxation, you know, and just enjoy it. Enjoy the moment, melt.
Mm-hmm. That's the same way I use guided imagery.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm doing it.
Yeah. I'm very selective on my music when I have to pick one.
Yeah. And we can get into some of the deeper aspects of that, like
we don't have time.
Waves, you know.
Oh, I don't use terror waves.
Delta waves.
I'll fall asleep.
So I use terror waves sometimes in the music that I have on in the practice. But there's a lot of depth to this stuff that we're talking about, as would be expected, since we are actually digging into underlying causes of the issues that go on with our health, as opposed to just treating the symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I know Dr. Jackson and I are going to make a great team on this, and finding the root causes of a lot more problems than just one or two.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we're doing it every day.
Well, yeah.
And that's a great thing. And you know, I feel a lot of satisfaction in helping people in a way they've never experienced ever in their lives.
Oh, me too.
I mean, we see a real transformation, again, that word, but it's a true transformation that happens with our patients.
Mm-hmm.
It's a transformation because they are on a path to wellness. There's a true transformation when you are no longer just dealing with symptoms, no longer filling your body with drugs that are damaging to your body, and actually working with your body to help it transform into a healthy, well body that helps your mind and your spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes you truly well.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. So that's what we're working on, focusing on the underlying cause on a path to wellness. And that's what it's all about. And I hope you enjoyed our show today about just playing fun with my Canadian accent. And I hope we gave you some insight into how we practice and our approaches. I've been trying to do that, as I did last week when I did our interview with our local artist extraordinaire, Marc Levasseur, with understanding and listening in on an intake and how we approach the issues that people have with their health. And this gives you a little further and perhaps deeper insight into our focus on the underlying cause, as opposed to the symptoms, or not just the symptoms anyway. So you've been listening to A Path to Wellness on rhinoonair.com, WSPF Digital Broadcasting. And we have this show weekly, live, Thursdays at noon Eastern Standard. And I'm not sure what Manchester time is on Friday.
At 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
It's 10 a.m. Eastern. Oh, that 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. I'm not sure what the Manchester time is.
It's that means it's at
prime time,
3 p.m. their time.
3 p.m. 3 p.m. Manchester time.
But we want Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, we're going to stay focused on Eastern Standard. But anyway, so 12 noon Eastern Standard on Thursdays, and 10 on Fab Radio International on Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. And if you want to get a hold of our practice, you can take a look at our website, first of all, which is named after the practice initials, APTW, short for A Path to Wellness, aptw.net. or you can give us a call in the US at 727-329-9637. Or outside the US, obviously, you dial, I believe, 1 or 01, I believe it is. So that was enjoyable, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. And we'll be talking to you next week on WSPF Digital Broadcasting. Rhino.
Bye now.
Smile, you're on camera.
I don't want to smile. All right.
I think that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.